Ethics are multi-tiered concepts that include the policies and climate of an organization, and also the specific behaviors and decision-making of members in the organization. At the end of this topic, you should be able to understand the following. Know the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Define ethical climate. Identify the danger signs for an organization with lacks ethical climate. Identify the characteristics which define an ethical standard. Explain the process to make ethical decisions. Identify the business costs of ethical failure. Explain the channels to report ethical problems. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act is a landmark political bill passed in the United States Congress in 2002. It aims to improve investor confidence by forcing outside board directors into directorships. It also improves the accountability by having top managers sign off on financial results and accounting rules. Violations incur fines and legal prosecution. Firms must report their own internal controls with respect to these requirements. Firms that do more to promote accountability and transparency can reduce possible future punishments. Critics say these measures are too restricting and make firms risk adverse, and the costs of compliance are too high. However, this is domain specific, and tighter controls also provide benefits in quality control, assurance, and legal safety. Ethics are not shaped only by laws and individual virtue, but may also be influenced by companies' work environment. Unethical behaviors often reflect an organizational climate that is lax and not well suited for individuals to take ethical behavior. An ethical climate refers to the processes by which decisions are evaluated and made on the basis of right and wrong. Strong ethics are rewarded in organizations with strong ethical climates, such as General Electric, which promotes based on ethics and business results. This sets global standards for ethical decision making and prevents conflicts of interest and serious issues such as money laundering. Relativism acknowledges that different ethical viewpoints exist. Norms or standards of expected and acceptable behavior vary from one culture to another. Some key warning signs to spot in an organization that may have a lax ethical climate that will promote unethical behavior include excessive emphasis on short-term revenue streams and not focusing on long-term outcomes. Responding to the expectations of shareholders at the expense of other constituencies. Failure to establish a written code of ethics. A desire for simple, quick-fix solutions to ethical problems or sweeping them under the rug to make them disappear. Unwillingness to take an ethical stand that may impose financial costs. Consideration of ethics solely from a legal perspective or as a public relations strategy. Lack of clear procedures for handling ethical problems. An ethical leader is one who is both a moral person and a moral manager. A moral manager influences others to behave ethically, encouraging high ethical standards in followers. Ethical standards are difficult to exchange across culture. For example, higher managerial accountability in Asia may lead to an anxious fear of exposure losing face, and often resignation. However, in the US, there's likely to be deflection of the issues, stonewalling, or other defensive coping mechanisms such as everyone does it. However, this is strongly influenced by the litigious culture of the US, where wrongdoings are often punished with expensive, drawn-out lawsuits. The code of ethics can be valuable to managers who feel pressurized by stakeholders into risk they are uncomfortable. The codes must be carefully written by the legal department of the firm, and a good code should address employee conduct, the community, environment, shareholders, customers, suppliers, contractors, political activity, and technology use and development. To make an effective code, organizations should involve those who are affected by the code. This includes the employees, shareholders, and managers. An effective code should focus on real-life situations that really affect employees and practice. The codes should be easy to understand, interpret, apply, and remember. Effective codes should also connect to a company's values and beliefs. Foremost, codes have to be lived, particularly at the top by executives who set the tone for the entire firm. Ethics programs come in two types: compliance-based and integrity-based. Compliance-based programs seek behavioral results by preventing, detecting, and punishing ethical infractions. These behavioral measures aim on keeping the organization out of legal entanglements and lawsuits. Integrity-based programs are beyond the letter of the law and attempt to instill a sense of urgency for individuals to be ethical. This is done with employee-approved and enacted guiding principles, proper ethics training to help change attitudes, and integration of the ethical program into operations. This includes changing how employees think and behave in the organization and centering this on ethics, such as educating on the perceptions of employees with disabilities rather than merely accommodating their needs and facilities. Ethical decision-making requires moral awareness. The person needs to know that the issue has moral implications. For example, the act of telling a lie to cover up a mistake. Regardless of the intent, there's always implications since a lie is a lie. Moral judgment. The person needs to know what actions are morally defensible. A lie told now may save the company money, but in the long run may cause the company to lose credibility. Moral character. The person needs to have the courage to act based on the strength of his character. Even though a lie may avert financial disaster, there's a need for strong moral character to forego short-term gains over the need to maintain long-term credibility. Behaving ethically requires not just moral awareness and moral judgment, but also moral character, including the courage to take actions consistent with your ethical decisions. Ethical decision-making process. Step 1. Understand all moral systems. Have a good understanding of the various ethical systems. Example: utilitarianism, egoism, universalism, relativism, and virtue ethics. Step 2. Recognize all moral impacts. For the issues under consideration, identify the benefits and harm that may befall others. Make an assessment: what are the individual rights that may be exercised or denied by the affected person. Step 3. Combining Step 1 and Step 2, define the complete moral problem and arrive at a moral decision. Step 4. Analyze the implication of the decision. Consider the legal requirement. Ask the question whether the act is legal and is in full compliance with existing laws. Determine the economic outcome. For example, an unethical act may cost the company her reputation, hefty legal costs, fines, and penalties. Evaluate the ethics duties. Whether the act will lower the morale of the employees and affect the customers. Step 5. Propose a convincing moral decision. With due considerations of the preceding 4 steps, the manager may then decide on the moral decision. Business costs can be incurred through ethical omission. There are 3 different levels of business costs. Some are more obvious than others. They are: Level 1 costs. Fines and penalties imposed by government regulators are highly publicized but are rarely catastrophic for business, usually a portion of operating income. However, these level 1 costs are the most visible to managers due to the clear cause-effect link between ethical failure and a fine. Level 2 costs: administrative and audit, legal and investigative, remedial education, corrective actions. Level 2 costs are more process-oriented, such as the cost of bringing in outside auditors, maintaining legal counsel through an investigation, remedial training, and corrective actions, as well as increased regulatory oversight in the wake of an ethical failure. These costs are more implied. Level 3 costs: customer defections, loss of reputation, employee cynicism, lost employee morale, employee turnover, government cynicism, government regulations. Level 3 costs are truly damaging, but more abstract to managers. Loss of customers due to a drop in reputation is problematic, particularly as the most loyal customers will be most embarrassed by an ethical failure. Increased employee cynicism and decreased morale may even result in higher employee turnover. Government cynicism towards the industry may be affected, resulting in more regulation and tighter industry controls. These are abstract long-term costs that can cripple an organization's efficacy and efficiency. Employees who report their organization or management for unethical behavior are called whistleblowers. These individuals must make bold steps to upset the organizational structure and incur blowback from their actions, such as being cast aside, undermining the organization's goals, or being harassed. There are many channels for whistleblowers to assist them retain anonymity and help the organization correct their own errors. These channels include anonymous telephone tip lines or hotlines, or online reporting systems.